Following the aftermath of Marvel's The Avengers, Thor fights to restore order across the cosmos, but an ancient race led by the vengeful Malekith returns to plunge the universe back into darkness. Faced with an enemy that even Odin and Asgard cannot withstand, Thor must embark on his most perilous and personal journey yet, one that will reunite him with Jane Foster and force him to sacrifice everything to save the world once more. What's going on, everybody? My name is Chaz, aka Dr. Cosmic, and we are back once again. This is Watchers Week. Every week on this show or podcast, we talk about a Marvel movie leading up to Marvel's Avengers Infinity War, which is now coming out April 27th. Isn't that crazy? I am joined by Tim. What's up, Tim?
Yeah. Hey, how's it going, man? That's some crazy news, and it's a two-edged sword. I'm super excited to see it sooner, in case I die of a freak accident, who knows? But at the same time, a little upset it messes up our whole, or everyone's, I think, little journey to infinity got planned out. So, but hey, we'll let it slide. And I totally think T'Challa could have done it too. I mean, no offense to Mr. Robert Downey Jr., but I'm just saying Chadwick Boseman, I think, would have been down with laying down the new law.
Definitely. Well, I don't think even if you do happen to accidentally pass away, I mean, at least it's that much closer. You don't have to wait, because I mean, waiting seems like a worse possibility for me. It feels like. But yeah, I'm also joined by Steven. What's going on, Steven?
Hey guys, I'm doing fantastic. In case you guys didn't see that tweet done by the Marvel Studios talking about how that was a fantastic idea. I'm going to say fantastic 2 more times because the Fantastic Four could be coming out because it's fantastic. Man, I did not bet.
Okay.
This. Let's talk about the Fantastic Four. I don't even care about Thor anymore. I want to talk about the Fantastic Four.
Well, I mean, that little opening monologue was kind of gave me flashbacks of the ending of the last Fantastic Four movie, and that wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, dude, it's totally gonna happen. I mean, it's gotta happen.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I thought they were good planners. Marvel's is great at future planning, having everything, even when they don't have everything yet in their licensing. They plan ahead and say, you know what, let's cast it, let's make a movie about it. They probably have a script down ready to go, and I'm just so excited. We're probably gonna get a teaser.
Oh yeah, the movie's done. Yeah, for sure. I think it's just that they were, trying to maybe line it up with the international release of the movie, and therefore no one's not really like spoil. I mean, I don't know if there's any still spoilers to be had. There most definitely is, but I think that's one reason why they did it. Also, because Deadpool 2's was coming out in the same month, or pretty close in time. So decided to give it some breathing room. I'm sure everyone's gonna go see this movie about 4 or 5 times.
Oh, definitely. Look, once we get to Infinity War, I mean, the gates are going to be opened. Anything can happen, but we're not there yet. We're gonna get there, guys. We're not there yet. Right now, where we're at in the stream of time, we're still waddling in phase 2. It's kind of weird.
We're here in the dark world.
Yeah, nobody really likes it. It's kind of dark. We're like, why don't they just turn on the light? Where's Mjolnir when you need it, or even Groot? But anyway, so we're talking about Thor: The Dark World. I have to say personally, this is definitely the weakest from the Thor trilogy. Not my favorite. It had a pretty darn good opening scene. I liked the history lesson once more. We got Anthony Hopkins giving us a little narration and a little history there. But what did you guys think of not only the beginning, but just the film in general? Let's get Tim's thoughts.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I didn't mind. I definitely when I, again, when I first watched it and rewatching it, it's a little jarring this huge exposition dump that Anthony Hopkins gives us. I mean, I didn't mind it because yeah, I mean, like it helps me get my head in the game. Like, oh, okay, it's just giving me all the names, giving me all the people that I need that are gonna be in this movie. Great, everyone else is going to be on the loop. Might as well, wrangle me in. But then later on, and he basically gives the same history lesson to Thor later on. So it's like redundant. Like they could have done one or the other, and it felt like they kept both cuts in. Like, oh, okay, let's have one where it's just a voiceover, and then let's have one where he's actually explaining it to Thor, and then they both made it in their way into this movie. So it felt a little like, yeah, I know this. Get to the point when they did it the second time. But then, like I'm like, well, I kind of didn't like it the first one where that's like the first thing you're introduced to in this movie. I mean, I wouldn't mind if it just started leading them with I think it's when they're like going around killing a bunch of people, right? Well, they're not killing a bunch of people. They're just going out and bringing around order to the realms. That's how it starts off, right? Got my notes right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Well,
it reminds me of a lot of other movies, and they're not good movies.
yeah.
So it kind of like takes all these different cliches and kind of like tries to make them work, but obviously they don't. And and just try to throw a Thor skin on it or something.
Yeah, I got something to reply to that, but first I want to get Steven's thoughts. What are your thoughts, Steven, overall?
I really enjoyed again the first part, but the problem with the beginning is that usually these history lessons start small. Like in the beginning, one man did something and now this happened. It like doesn't give a lot of details. It just gives you the general idea that you go along with and you're like, okay, I somewhat understand this. I get the gist of it. Let's move on. I got my tiny history lesson. This history lesson in Thor 2, The Dark World, seemed way too much detailed. They were like, in the beginning, there was darkness. Okay, great. Let's start from clean slate. But then there was the Dark Elves. Okay, bad guys. On the planet Scandinavia, okay, led by this Malekith, who fought Bor the Asgardian, who also had the power of the ether, who then had to bury it underground due to the power of this. And you're like, whoa, wait, hold up. This is way too much information for me to handle. And the film did a lot in this movie like that. They used, like crazy dialogue and Asgardian speech, but they kind of mumbled it under their breath and be like, and I didn't quite understand most of the movie because I'm like, why is this happening this way? Why is that happening that way? Am I just supposed to accept it the way it is? Or am I supposed to question it and further look into it?
Yeah, maybe that goes into why they explain it 2 times in this movie. So that way it's like, I didn't really get it the first time. And then the second time they explain like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, because what I was going to say to Tim's point is, see, for me, the opening scene isn't that big of a deal. Like, I really liked the opening scene. Actually, it was a little long,
Yeah.
but I get what Tim's saying about the second time through when we get the same history lesson. But the reason I have a much bigger problem with that second part is because in this opening scene, they show Malekith pointing his hand to the sky or whatever, and then they show all these different portals. I think they only show 3 portals, and you can kind of see Helheim, and you can see another one, which is, I believe, it was kind of frosty looking. It might have been Jotunheim, but I'm not too sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was another one that was green. Could have been Vortalheim or one of the other ones, like a more benevolent world. But anyway, what I was expecting from this movie is, I know it's called The Dark World, but I thought we might be able to play with those, realities. or realms. I thought that
Yes.
they were going when they were doing when it finally got to the final act and they were fighting and kind of being transported. They were really only being transported between two worlds. It was just Earth and the Dark World, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
give me something else, give me what you showed me. Don't lead with this whole grand history talk, which I rather probably would have had that movie. I would have wanted to see that movie because it was so long, like y'all were saying.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I kind of wanted to see those worlds. And when you think about it, now that Thor Ragnarok is out, and hopefully everybody's seen that, in retrospect, the Thor trilogy as a whole, we've really only been to, let me count, one, two, three,
Technically four, yeah.
four out
Jotunheim,
of the nine
Dark
realms.
World, Asgard, and Midgard.
So yeah, it is kind of, I don't know. I thought they were going to kind of give us at least uh, two realms each movie or something like that. But
Well, is technically is I mean, again, we're Ragnarok spoilers, but I mean, I don't know. Spoilers again. I'm gonna say pause it if or skip ahead a little bit. Probably like a minute just ahead. Um, it doesn't isn't don't is what's his name Surtur in a different realm when he goes there. Is that
yeah,
Helheim?
yeah,
So
that's
that's
Helheim.
okay. Then that's technically five.
Well, no, it's still four, right?
No, because there's Midgard, Asgard,
Oh, well, I
Jotunheim.
don't really include Earth, but I mean, I guess you can.
Yeah, they're part
um,
of the nine, so it definitely counts.
Oh, and they went to what's his name? Is it Hun? Hoon? What's
Oh,
the
right. Yeah,
his hometown?
yeah,
Uh,
Honeycombville. Yeah, Honeycombville.
no, but they leave him at his place. So yeah, there's that. So there's technically six.
6 out of 9 ain't bad. Oh wait, didn't we also see in Thor Ragnarok when the Valkyrie were coming out of a realm and they were going to fight Hela? Do you
That's
think
Asgard.
that's Asgard? You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the place that at least from what I know, and please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, where the place where the Valkyries come from, and I'm blanking on the name right now. Um, uh, but yeah, the place where the Valkyries come from, that is sort of just like a branch of Asgard, and I kind of thought the same thing about uh,
Is
Hogan's
it?
Land. I don't know what you call it, but
Isn't it Valhalla? Or is
I
that
don't.
not it?
No, I don't think so, because Valhalla is pretty much their heaven.
Right, right, right. Yeah. I thought it was also like a place too.
Um, I
Because
think in yeah, I think in the I think I see where you're getting confused because I think in the original mythology, the Valkyries take warriors to
yeah,
Valhalla, so they're kind
yeah.
of like the bridge between. But yeah, to me, Hogan's Land or whatever you want to call it, and
Hogun, that's his name. I said Hoon Hun. I was like, no.
yeah, and the Valkyries place wherever they come from, Valkyrie Town. Um,
Mm. Valkyrieville.
those those are kind of all branches of Asgard. So I don't really know if they're considered their own realms, but I don't know.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
No,
I was
that
gonna
sounds right. That sounds as right as anything else we could have spit out.
Honestly, we can make up anything during this podcast and people will believe it because nobody has watched Thor: The Dark World in its entirety. We're probably the only three people that have done it.
I was gonna say I've talked to a lot of people who are either big MCU nuts and they're like, oh well, yeah, I love the MCU, like regular just comic book fans, and then I mean and people that are like, oh yeah, I go see those superhero movies and stuff like that, and most of them are like, no, I skipped Thor 2. Some either because they didn't like Thor, so they're like, I don't want to go see another Thor movie. But other ones were just like, it didn't pique my interest when they, showed it and stuff like that, with the advertisements and everything like that. So surprisingly, yeah, I was surprised that not everyone at least has seen this movie, or this is one that is very frequently skipped.
Right, I agree. Just to point back onto the history lesson at the beginning of the film, can you imagine that Thor's grandfather Bor made everyone believe that he destroyed an Infinity Stone? I mean, that's pretty baller if you think about it lying wise throughout your life. They'd be like, "Wow, Bor, tell us one more time how you destroyed Infinity Stone." And he's like, "Yeah, well, I just took it in my hand and kind of just crushed it,
Well, my thing is Malekith made an Infinity Stone.
See, this is the part. Okay, let's get into it because that's the part.
There's a lot of problems with the lore in this, and I think again it's kind of just they're having kind of fun with it. There's really no path yet. I mean, I think they don't really touch on the Infinity Stones till way later, like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, this movie I remember was one of the first movies that I know of that kind of had the two directors stigma.
Yeah.
I don't have the directors' names in front of me, but I know that one was working on it and then had left midway, and then somebody else came in, picked it up, and was trying to basically, finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, speaking of the ether, I don't think that even the writers knew what it was, and it's kind of is shown by just the way it's portrayed is like this weird, liquidy, whatever, goopy mess.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be why Malekith was the one that made it, and they were just like, yeah, it's the ether, whatever. It's nothing. Like, let's just move on to the next movie, or this is all like whatever build up, or bridging a gap. And then possibly, or more than likely, Kevin Feige stepped in and was like, no, let's make this, matter and make this thing an Infinity Stone because we gotta build this universe.
Yeah, and until that very end credit scene where they say it's an Infinity Stone, I had no idea this thing was an Infinity Stone. I mean, they had a different name for it. They made it even a different state of matter. I was just like, this is some Thor thing I'd never heard of, or just some MCU plot kind of junk. And then finally, when they said that, I was like, "Oh, BS! There's no way that has anything to do with Infinity Stones." And I was like, "No, that's the Infinity Stone." I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Well, yeah, and then you forgot the and one of the other important things that it was the basically the prequel for Black Swan. Is what it also was.
No, but seriously, the thing with the ether, I've dived into the internet, meaning I looked at 3 separate Wikipedia accounts, and I found out that most likely the story of the ether is that we see in Guardians of the Galaxy when the Collector was telling the Guardians what the Infinity Stones are, is that it was a stone at one point. At the probably very beginning, the Reality Stone was red, and it was a gem or a stone. But then I think Malekith came upon it, and he changed it somehow, or like he took it and transformed it into a liquid because that's way more easy to transport, I guess, or something.
My thing was, I thought it was like, since it was the reality gem, that it was like, I'm the crazy one, like the wild card. And like everyone else is all solid and a gem and all that kind of stuff. I want to be a liquid juice.
Right. So then Malekith takes it, transforms it into a liquid himself, which is a feat that he probably can't do, but he can also control it. He can sense it through time and space. It's his own alarm clock. So I think that's what that's what he was able to do in order to be like that. And I think
I kind of like my theory about the reality gem being bored and wanting to be blood juice. So I'm gonna go with my theory.
Or donut jelly filling.
Yeah.
So in the comics, the Collector at first was put in charge of the reality gem first. So I think under his watch, while he's collecting it from Thor 2 up until Infinity War, he's going to be able to transform it back into stone himself. So I think we're not going to see the red liquid anymore, and from here on out, it's
Well,
a red.
yeah, no doubt. I mean, uh, I always assumed that.
Trust me, that we understand that from here on out, they're going to be trying to fix the mistakes that is Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah, once Thanos gets his hand on it, he's probably just gonna solidify that sucker and slap it on that gauntlet. But anyway, so yeah, we kind of talked about
That they
both.
did. Oh, I was gonna say
Oh,
they did tease us about jumping from realms, kind of going back to that point when they do go to Vanaheim and leave Hogun and all that kind of stuff, and the big old fight there, and they're restoring order to the world or something like that. Oh, we also get Loki's whole thing. He comes to Odin to take his crimes and stuff like that, and Frigga's there. Hooray! Right, guys? Remember Frigga? She's there.
Nah,
yeah.
nah.
Hey, that's actually the name. Sorry, that's actually the name of it. Vanaheim is where the Valkyries are from.
But that's where
Oh.
Hogun's from.
Oh, well, he's a Valkyrie then? Is he a woman? But yeah, I was gonna mention that because we talked about the back or both ends of the movie. But yeah, there's the Loki scene, and then there's the scene also that's more towards the beginning of Thor killing or murdering Korg's brother. So what's up with that?
Oh yeah. I honestly that I like that part in the movie and trailer when he was like, anyone else? That got me. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Just one handed, and he was like, looked around. I thought that was hilarious.
I like to believe in my mythology is that that guy was Korg's mom's boyfriend who he hates. So when he comes home eventually, it's gonna all work out. My mom's boyfriend, who I hate. Like Thor just hits him right on the chin.
I hate uh, Jorg. Jorg, my stepdad. He's a real loser. My stepdad Jorg. I
Yep,
really hope
that's his name.
he kicked the bucket when I was gone. Oh, I already killed him. Oh,
But
yeah.
Tim, you had brought up Loki, and I'm glad you did because out of this huge pile of mess, I thought Loki really shined in this movie. We had so many great moments of him, not only in prison, but then we get moments later where when he finds out uh, Frigga has died. A lot of impactful moments.
He's okay, I would say.
I
He
would
kind of
say he's more of the main star of the movie than Thor. He really steals the show with the audience, not so much as Thor, because some people are like, I didn't really get to see that much Thor in Thor 1. I got to see immortalized Thor. I got to see him kind of confused by the Midgard. And then finally, toward the end, I get a little bit of Thor. This one, we get full on Thor, full on chainmail, full on hammer swinging God
yeah.
pushing bro. But then Loki gets on the screen, and you're like, he absolutely steals the show, except his dialogue is sometimes so stupid, just like this beginning scene where he says to Odin, like, oh, it's not like I don't love our little talks. It's just I don't love them. I'm like, it's the first moment in the series of moments that I wanted to turn off this
It's
movie
true.
and run away from it and to break it and destroy it with fire. This movie is awful.
But we also get more Heimdall, which is always a good thing. More Heimdall is always a good thing.
Though I do agree with him. Like, this is the second time stuff has gone down in Asgard, so it's kind of like, dude, you're fired. Like, totally agree. No offense, but
The
I think
dude
from
was
here on,
staring
like
at the dark elf.
maybe if they showed in the past movie or like some other time, maybe in Avengers even, where like he stopped like a whole bunch of stuff from going down. I mean, yeah, they kind of teased it a bit when he stopped that one ship, and it was like, oh no, look at all these other ships. So it was kind of like pointless then. But if it like showed in another instance where he did stop an attack like fully by himself, like I'd been like, oh, okay, so he's like pretty good.
That's true. I never thought of that. You just ruined Heimdall for me. I'm just
He's
kidding.
he's a great character. I love Idris Elba's interpretation of him, and he gets better in Ragnarok. But yeah, it's just kind of. I mean, he's not an Avenger, so therefore he's nerfed.
I was gonna
Um,
say
oh
with
yeah, go ahead.
Heimdall, he stared right at the dark elf and was like watching him pass by, and he didn't think to be like, excuse me, hold up, I think that guy's a dark elf, and they're like, no, they're extinct. Can you please remove his helmet? Oh snap, he is a dark elf, and then throw him back into the portal and get him away from Asgard. I mean, this
But he was told the Dark Elves were not alive anymore. So
Well, also, he
the,
can't see the Dark Elves later on in the movie, even though they are literally right above their heads. And Thor calls it, he says, they could be right above our heads, Father. And they are. The ship is invisible right above their heads, and Heimdall can't see them for some reason,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
dumb.
for plot, they have plot
Plot.
armor, plot
Yeah.
camouflage.
Plot camouflage.
Unless, I was going to say, unless it's because they weren't alive during his rule, because Heimdall did say that he never saw the convergence before his time as the guardian of the Bifrost. So maybe it's only when things are alive during your, um, you know, the shift as a guardian of the
Guys,
Bifrost.
guys, as much as I love talking about Heimdall, we have to talk about the biggest stars in here, which I think shine, are the Warriors 3 and the Lady Sif.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all our favorite ones: Hogun, Volstagg, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Volstagg.
yeah, Volstagg, and it starts with an F, right?
Just call him Shazam.
This
Oh
guy?
I'm just kidding. Fandral.
yeah, Fandral. Yeah, 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 yeah. And uh, how do you guys like this Fandral as opposed to our previous Fandral?
I
I,
actually really prefer Zachary Levi. I think mostly because Fandral already came off as sort of a Flynn Rider type,
Yeah.
and so I was like, oh yeah, okay, just throw Flynn Rider in there, and then boom, you got him.
Hmm.
So it was like a match made in heaven.
For
his
sure.
hair is weird.
It
I don't
was.
like, yeah, I don't like his hair in this one. It's like messy and yet combed and still messy. And no,
Mm,
I like the first guy better.
mm, mm.
I don't know
Interesting.
his name, but he
What
was
about
a
you,
babier
Tim?
guy.
I don't care.
You don't care.
That's why I asked the question. I don't care about Fandral. The thing I care, the one I care about, is the Lady Sif.
I knew you were gonna say.
Sif is Sif is best girl, and how dare Thor turn her down for Jane Foster? Like,
I mean, it's Natalie Portman.
yeah, exactly.
Hey,
But
say something
don't
about the, you know
don't
what?
get don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Natalie Portman, yes. If it was Natalie Portman, but no, it's not Natalie Portman. It's Jane Foster, and Jane Foster, I have a big problem with because she is both yet a scientist and yet like this dumb damsel. Like it's ridiculous because she's the whole time like trying to figure out the anomalies, and she brings Darcy, Kat Dennings, and then she hangs out with Selvig, and then this random British intern guy, and she lets like
Ian,
kids mess around with these wormholes basically, and she
his
even
name's
throws
Ian.
some stuff in, and she like doesn't know anything. Like they try to make her smart by saying like, "Oh, is this like that quantum field generator, or whatever, with the X-ray machine?" And then
Yeah,
yeah, they try it, but then it doesn't work. It's just kind of like I don't know. It felt off for me, and for
I
Sif to
know.
be there, firing on all cylinders throughout on the parts and she has in this movie, I was just like, man, Thor is dumb.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was really dumbed down in this movie. Um, especially compared to the first movie, because the first movie I thought she was handled really well. But yeah, this one, just some of the choices, it's like it's pretty much the problem I have with uh love interests uh on like
The
CW shows.
CW.
Yeah, CW show.
I knew it.
Well, I was gonna say TV in general, because just
Yeah.
they always do that on TV because they need something for that week. So they're like, okay, let's make this person, this side character. I don't want to say just only pertains to love interest characters or female characters, but it could be anything. Like, let's make this
Hmm.
side character be retarded today and put himself into danger so the hero can save the day. It happens all the freaking time. So it was definitely just chucked in there, just you know, so Thor could save the day. But yeah, Sif and Loki are definitely the highlights of this movie.
Do they explain why Thor doesn't like Sif? Like for some reason, because she totally got friend zoned. Like
I.
talk.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I don't know. Maybe it's because she looks like Frigga. I don't know.
I don't know.
What?
I don't mind if they explain why he likes Jane Foster. Like he's always like, I think he mentions it like in sometime later, like Age of Ultron or something like that. Or like even in this movie maybe, but she's strong and smart. When has she ever really done any, like, no offense?
Okay. I kind of get it, but yeah,
But
Sif.
wait, y'all don't think that Sif looks like Frigga a little bit?
No.
Like just the
What?
eyes.
Not
like
with that not with that five head, to be honest.
Yeah, seriously.
Like I really enjoy this actress and I really enjoy her performance and stuff like that, but I'm gonna call it as I see it. She's kind of got a five head.
I
Why?
thought that it was intentional because I had assumed that they were going to kind of set up a romantic or possibly a love triangle between Jane, Thor, and Sif back in the first movie. And so I was like, oh well, he's obviously gonna end up with Sif because uh, I mean, one, she's like basically second to being a god. She's not really a demigod, but she's like, just under a god.
Mm-hmm.
And uh and two, she looks like his mom. So it's like, boom.
Boom. Okay. I don't want to go too much down the rabbit hole with you, but okay. Let's be clear as like the CEO of Watchers Week that Dr. Cosmic's viewpoint on getting with a girl that looks like your mom is viewpoint alone, and those are his thoughts and his thoughts alone.
No, they're not my thought. I mean, I've oh my gosh, this is getting way off topic.
Yeah, let's talk about Natalie Portman. Yeah,
That's just like a thing that people say. Like, never mind.
no, nobody has said that. Okay, Natalie Portman. You know what I really loved about Natalie Portman?
Nothing.
No, it set up Jane Foster. Look at that, Jane Foster Thor.
No, get that off the screen right now.
No, I will keep it here. The only
It's not
reason
happening.
the only reason why this Natalie Portman can hold an Infinity Stone in her body for so long is because she has the power to become Thor. She is worthy. And this whole movie dropped hints like that. They were like, hey, a Star-Lord who was half a what are they called? Sentries? Sentinels? Cosmic beings?
What are you talking about?
Star-Lord's dad.
Oh,
Celestials.
Celestial, right. Okay, even being half a Celestial, Star-Lord could only hold an Infinity Stone for like 3 minutes. Natalie Portman held an Infinity Stone inside her like for 2, maybe 3 days. That's incredible, and only a person who can become Thor has that kind of power. And I for sure think down the line, MCU has plans to A, give her cancer, and B, give her the hammer.
But
Wait,
it was
wait,
like
wait.
but it was like the loser Infinity Stone, the one
Yeah,
that
that's what
can't
I was
even
fixing
be
to
a
say.
rock.
You're saying because she has cancer that she's able to hold an Infinity Stone,
No,
but also I was gonna say that this is just the Reality Stone. The one in Guardians was the Power Stone.
so it's an Infinity.
That's a lot of power.
Yeah.
No, that's what Chaz is saying.
Yeah, the one in Guardians is a lot of power.
so it's harder. And this is like the dumb one that doesn't know how to be a rock.
Hey guys, I'm just like you. No, you're not.
Which apparently, because of my mom comment, that's me tonight. I'm the Infinity Stone that doesn't know how to be a rock. Anyway, moving on. So the two people that I wanted to throw into Helheim were Darcy and Ian. I wanted to chuck them straight into Surtur's clutches and just watch them get, toasted with the eternal flame.
It's pretty interesting that Malekith, the ruler of the Dark Elves, who once destroyed the 9 realms 5,000 years ago, was defeated by 2 brainless interns with a couple of tripods.
But they weren't, were they? I mean, literally monkeys could have done their part.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
They didn't defeat Malekith. It was kind of Selvig and Jane Foster and Thor.
How is it? Look, let me pose this question to y'all. How is it that Peter Parker, a high schooler, is smarter than these 2 interns, these grown, you-know-what people, adults, these grown, I have, I can't say it because we're PG-13 here, but, or we're PG, whatever. We're G, actually. That's G. We're straight up G. Anyway, they are adults, and they are not as smart as a high schooler. Like, what the heck?
What? I don't think did anybody really laugh at this movie when you guys watched it in theaters?
No.
I think I laughed once, but it was
okay. Wait, the theater itself was laughing. I myself was not laughing, and then especially the post-credit scene with the dog, Ice Dog. I was like, all right, get me out of the theater now.
Yeah, I don't think I remember anybody really like laughing at any of these parts. Like I heard some chuckles and stuff like that, but it wasn't ever like, oh, that was funny. Remember that part? Like nobody was saying that. So I don't know. It kind of falls flat. I'm not sure because it kind of does. I guess something similar to Ragnarok, where it's kind of just like there's big stakes, but it's also a comedy. And I think in this space around these times, the stretch of movies where some people were pointing out the flaws of that with the Marvel movies, they were like, they're not really action movies with comedy. They're like comedy movies with action. And I could kind of definitely see it with this movie on how one was put in front of the other.
Yeah, during this movie, I think the one scene that resonates with me and my hatred for it was the scene where Darcy and Ian were kissing, and then she drops him, and she was like, "Darcy," and she's like, "What's her name? Natalie Portman."
Jane.
She was like, "Darcy, Jane, Ian, Selvig, Mew Mew." I was like, "Okay, where's the exit? Exit for me, please. Check, exit. I'm out of here." That was completely ridiculous, unnecessary. I've never seen it in movies since or before. It's been a while since I saw that whole like naming each other's characters. Just in case you forgot, when it's the ending of the movie 10 minutes later, they're like, just in case you forgot all their names, here they are in order. I'm like, no, nobody does that. I hate this. And I had to watch it twice. I had to watch that.
I'm sorry, this is completely off topic, but I totally forgot because I'm looking at concept art for this movie that Valkyrie was actually supposed to be in this movie.
And she would have got sidelined for Jane too? No way. I wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, they were gonna cast it a Caucasian person. It looks like because
how dare they?
That's what it shows in the comic. I mean, not the comics, the concept art. But anyway, the thing that I didn't like as far as the comedy goes, because Steven was talking about the comedy. One of the things that I didn't like was Thor putting his hammer on the coat rack. because it was just, I don't know, it was too silly for me. Like in Age of Ultron, they kind of have a dialogue bit where they're talking about the hammer or the an elevator not being worthy if the hammer's resting in an elevator, and that
Right.
was okay because it's just dialogue. They're just talking about it like
Hmm.
in jest, but
If
to
they
actually
actually,
see it, yeah, it was just
if
kind of.
they cut away to an Avengers elevator and they were like pushing the hammer in and then they're like pressing the button to see what happens, I agree that would have been totally dumb. But I don't like that part on Age of Ultron either. That part really drew me out of the movie, especially toward the end of the movie. It was like the last sentence Thor said. He was like, "All right, you guys are idiots. I'm out of here. Peace." And then they're like, "Heh, we just totally roasted that guy on that guy's hammer." And you're like, "No, you didn't. You guys suck and are idiots."
I don't
Um,
like how I saw Selvig pantsless so many times in this movie.
It was ridiculous.
He's a very pasty and wrinkly boy, and yeah, it's very unsettling. I did understand who was laughing at those moments, but I don't think any of my audience did.
I really think that there were two different writers. There were the writers that were writing Thor, Loki, Sif, and then you could throw in Odin and Heimdall, and then everybody else was being written by somebody else because it was just like his character was absolutely ridiculous. Darcy, she was, I guess, the same from the last movie, but then she was accompanied by Ian, absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, this movie was barely firing off of out of one cylinder.
well,
It
weren't there?
was.
I
This
think there was five writers for this movie, if I recall. Five writers.
Well, yeah, I mean, what I meant by that is it just seems very like a very choppy movie. Like it was just chopped up into these different parts that were all mishmashed together. Like every movie has multiple writers because there's multiple drafts and notes made. So yeah, they're gonna have like three or four writers.
this movie feels like the prequels, and I'm not just saying that because Natalie Portman's in it, but or that it's like a space opera, or that for some reason the Asgardians fight with glowing swords, or that there's a lot of ship battles and facial scars and missing hands, and there's like a rancor beast or something like that. Like this was very prequely, and it's not good. It's not good for this movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
Plus to mention that
it
there's a bunch of sand. They fight on a sand planet.
Yeah, a lot of sand talk. The sand's bad and the bad people come from the sand. I don't know.
And there's a lot of dark talk where you have to
Why was
join the
yeah,
darkness.
why was Malekith like, "Oh man, I can't believe they killed all my dark elves." When they're and I'm like, you just said in the beginning that you were like leaving them to save yourself and like your clique.
Yeah,
Like I thought that was so dumb.
and he sacrifices like several of them throughout the movie.
Exactly. And he comes back and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe they did that." I'm like, you knew doing that. You were fine with that decision earlier on. It, it's again, this picture here is really great because they really are just like a bunch of faceless enemies. Because, like, I mean, the Dark Elves look like, what's it? Like from Power Rangers, putties. They're like putties.
Yeah,
And I mean, even the cursed guy, he looks like a Power Rangers villain. Like,
I was fixing to say I wanted to get y'all's opinion on Curse because, well, I guess Tim just said his opinion, but
he looks
uh,
like a Power Ranger villain. Yeah.
I kind of have mixed feelings on him. What do you think about him, Steven?
You mean the Iron Man 2 extremists people? Where they're fiery red skins and they touch people and they burn up? You mean extremists?
Well, they don't really burn up people. They just turn strong.
You're right, but the curse guy like was touching the Asgardian guards and like taking their life force or burning them or whatever. But it seemed
It was
okay,
kind of hard to tell with that guy wobbling around in that suit.
right.
like I don't think they should have CGI'd so much like of the environment and CGI'd him because a lot of the stuff he did was just like, oh, this looks so cheap.
It did look cheap, but his costume was pretty awesome. If you took that guy and like put him
What?
somewhere else in a different movie anywhere, he would be probably
Put him
really
up. Put a
great.
picture up. Put a picture of him up.
All right, so, it's gonna be a while. So,
Because that's what I saw when I saw him. He was like, yeah,
let's-
like he's either a Power Rangers bad guy. Like when he crushed the little thing in the prison, I was just like, make my monster grow, and like gets all big, like that. Or he's a Digimon.
he definitely does look like a Digimon
Okay, thank
Wow.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you very
that's
much.
very
or a
good point.
legendary Pokemon. That's
Yeah,
kind of
here's my
half human.
It's too gritty. It's too edgy for Pokemon. It's
yeah.
definitely a Digimon.
My thing is
What?
when I had first seen this movie, and granted, I was a few years younger. Uh,
That's how
I
time
did.
works.
I know. Yep. Time just you can't get those things back. And I'm kind of glad because during that time I did actually like the way he looked, and I think it was just because uh, I was just obsessed about practical effects, and so when I
Oh,
had
okay.
found out that they were incorporating practical effects in this movie, I just went nuts. And then seeing him, I thought he was actually pretty cool looking. Like his eyes are
It
pretty intimidating, but
it is
rewatching it,
well executed.
yeah,
I'll give it
rewatching it,
that.
it's not the best look. Like they probably could have done something better other than, the big bone hanging around, dangling around his collar. Uh it's kind of
If I saw this on an episode of Face Off, like I'd be like first prize.
oh yeah, definitely. But to your point about faceless enemies, yeah,
The
that
putties,
was a
yes.
huge misstep with this movie because I remember, and again, forgive me, I'm forgetting the director's name, but whoever
Alan
directed this movie, who was it?
Alan Taylor. She did Game of Thrones.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense with what I'm about to say next, because I remember the director saying that they were going to make the dark elves really like hideous creatures, like how they look uh, almost in the in the comics they're just like blue, I think. But yeah, they were gonna make them look really hideous. Somebody had compared it to the orcs from Lord of the Rings, and I remember
Mm.
seeing concept art as well, and it was like very scary. And I was like, sweet, this movie's called The Dark World. They're throwing in Lord of the Rings vibes to it, which is perfect. Obviously that suits Thor,
Hmm.
Norse mythology. Um, and I don't know what happened. Maybe it was just the writing that made it more sillier than what it should have been. It possibly could have been Disney putting a stop to it at a certain point. And I don't want to blame Disney entirely because clearly there's problems with the writing. Um, but I mean, this movie had so much potential because I remember the hype or at least, you know, I was hyped for it. I know, Tim, you were saying that a lot of people had skipped this movie and weren't, it didn't pique their interest. But
I definitely was because again those people most of them or some of them didn't enjoy Thor 1, so that was kind of another reason why they didn't go see it. Me, I really enjoyed Thor 1, so the second one, yay, great, even better. But yeah, for it to fall so far from that high of a point, it was crazy.
You know what I have a problem with? Malekith. I really have a problem with Malekith. And it showed,
Malekith.
yeah, Malekith. It really shows my point. The scene where he storms Asgard, goes into the room with Frigga and Natalie Portman, and then Frigga whoops his butt. She just like takes a sword and was like, "Okay, cool, I'm gonna kill you now." And you're like, "Oh, hey, buddy, maybe if you hadn't been sleeping for 5,000 years and spent more time training, you wouldn't have been almost killed by, a
Grandma.
lady in a dress." Which is no problem at that. But like, still, I mean, I thought you were supposed to be leader general of
She
armies.
is an old lady. I mean,
She's an old lady.
she's literally thousands of years old.
She had 2 kids. Moms are strong and everything, and definitely for sure. But she took him down pretty easily. Like, I don't think he even had a chance. And that's only because she was like probably training 24/7 every day, knowing an attack would come. And he was just like, you know what? I'm going to take a power nap for 5,000 years. I'm going to be all ready to go. I'm sure all my muscles will remember the moves I made at the beginning of this movie against the Asgard army, because he kicked butt during the Asgard army in the first beginning scene. He was like, stab you, whip around, stab you. And then this one, he's like, all right, I'm just going to walk up and grab the ether. And then he almost got his throat cut. And then he got his face burned. I'm like, you suck. Till that point, I was kind of okay with Malekith. But after that, he was very downhill. Super downhill.
Is this our first MCU like funeral procession? In the whole phases and everything? I think this is our first funeral procession. I mean, later on we get one for Peggy Carter in Civil War and all that kind of stuff. But I think this is the first one that we see.
Did we get one? We got one in Cap. Well, no, he didn't really get a funeral, but what's his face? Tucci had died.
I would say that.
Yeah, that wasn't a funeral procession. He just died, didn't he?
Yeah. I forgot. I thought for some reason he got a funeral.
No.
I would say this is the first funeral, and it was very nice. And then all of a sudden, they took a Tangled route and then threw lanterns up in the sky. I'm like, are those supposed to be stars? What are they? You show me this thing.
Those were the other boats.
What?
Weren't those the other boats?
No, the things everybody had in their hands.
Yeah, they look like stars.
They were just like, here it is. Everybody gets one for the funeral. What's it supposed to do? I don't know. Here, it's floating. It's floating away. And you're like, am I supposed to know what's going on? You're showing me a lot of scenes with these magical balls in the air. And so far, I'm pretty sure those are your flashlights. And everybody had Butterfingers and let them go. And they're also helium balloons. I don't know. I have no idea what they are. They didn't tell me. And it's stupid.
Well, Steven, what you have to understand is, I don't know. For me, stars, like the whole meaning behind that is like stars have this, what do you call it? Connotation of like birth, death, rebirth type of thing. So that's how I took it. But it was a little weird. I just have a very imaginative mind, I guess.
Right. And
I can take something as crappy as that and just turn it into something else.
Okay, now that you said that about it, because I do remember Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, when Yondu dies, everybody comes and also gives off light. So it seems to me that when you die, you turn into stars, but then you also need more light in order to guide you or to celebrate your death. I'm not too sure. I just really think it's stupid that everybody had a ball of light that nobody told me. Like, not even Jane Foster.
How dare they be so...
Who was supposed to be there, the human who's supposed to tell us, the Darcy of that world, who's supposed to not know anything what's going on. She was supposed to say, hey, what is this, by the way, to Thor? And Thor was supposed to give us a 10-second explanation on those tiny little balls of stupid light.
I know, would that what you want? Like, they're lights. You throw them. Like, that's it. That's all they're used for. This is our custom. This is our tradition. Don't be such a D about it, Jane. Asking questions at this time. My mom is dead. And you're questioning me about our little candles?
You ask too many questions. Just keep your mouth shut.
I'm grieving.
He should have given her the Franco speech from Spider-Man. Which one was it? 2? Just shut your mouth about things you don't understand, Jane. Sick of having to explain magic to you.
They're just lights. They're lights, and we let them go.
There's a little mouse
and
behind the
that's it.
curtain of space-time, and he's pulling all the strings.
Old Stinky Joe sells them on the corner. They're for children to play with, but we use them for funerals. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else.
Yeah, as we have mentioned, a lot of misfires with this movie, a lot of missteps. Wow, yeah, man, I'm plucking at straws here, trying to find good things.
Let's get close to the end. How did you guys think this movie ended with them going to England and fighting and then killing him with the portals and then
totally horrible, completely horrible, and then him growing giant and turning into another Power Rangers monster villain.
What?
Yeah.
Which the first time I had seen this movie, I did not realize that Malekith grows ginormous. I had to watch this movie like 3 other times, which I don't know why I did. I was a dummy and did that. But yeah, he grows ginormous, and they do an absolutely terrible job at utilizing what looked like I can only call it like Peter Jackson technology, because it's the same technology that he used for Gandalf and the Hobbits.
They film him. They film them separate from everyone else.
Exactly. Yeah, they did a horrible job trying to replicate the same thing, because I don't know if it was just the angles, but he looks normal sized. But then there's one shot where it shows basically like a Western standoff almost of Thor and Malekith is super huge, and I was like, holy crap, I did not realize this watching this movie in the theater. But also it was super dark in the theater.
So you're saying it's not like he's a giant, he's more like just a few inches taller than Thor?
No, he's a giant. He is, I would say, man, I don't even know. He's definitely taller than Steppenwolf.
Okay. I have no idea what you're talking about, and you need to say the exact scene so I can go back and watch this movie again.
Yeah, I'm not even... Because then they show Thor like... I can't explain it, but he like flies towards him.
And then punches him.
Yeah. And he's still ginormous.
Tim,
I think he's normal size.
No. He electrocutes him first, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Then he shrinks, then he punches him, and he's normal sized. I swear to God, watch it again.
So you're saying the first part, when he first comes off his ship, he's a giant?
Yeah, when he's absorbing and there's like a huge tornado of darkness and...
No, he was standing on a hill.
No, he's... never... You're just going to have to watch it. He's ginormous, because they show a pan of him, and
he does get up on like a platform.
I will watch the end fight and see if I can find it, and I'll post it on Instagram if he does. But I'm 92% sure he does not grow big.
Let us know down in the comments if Malekith gets big.
Yeah, does he get really big and hard? Does he?
What? Stop.
Does liquid flow out of him?
Hey, G rating.
G rating. G.
Yeah.
Do you think?
All I was saying is if Malekith gets big towards the end, in like the climax part in the end, if he gets big,
all right,
that's what I was saying.
God dang.
Geez, that took me a while to put the pieces together. Do you think since Jane Foster is kind of merged with the reality stone, that Heimdall could be fused with the soul stone? I like to believe that.
I don't know.
Wait, what?
Just like how Steven's trying to say that the soul gem is following in the paths of the reality gem, and it's also dumb and doesn't know how to be a rock, and it's like inside a Heimdall.
Oh, I thought you were saying like it was Heimdall. Like it doesn't know how to be a rock, so it's like, I'm Heimdall.
I want to be Idris Elba.
I thought
No, no, no to
That's the
that,
smart
and no
one. That's the
to
smart
what
one,
you
if
said.
anything. That's the
oh
smart
my
one, if
god.
anything. That's the smart Infinity Stone. Hey, let's all be rocks. And no, I'm gonna be Idris Elba instead. Dang. Okay. Well, I guess we can't all be Idris Elba.
It's the only stone that can actually defend itself, though. So I mean, yeah, it is the smartest.
Dude, that would be amazing if that would prove to be true. Um also,
Heimdall's the next Infinity Stone.
right, yeah, Heimdall. Um
Wasn't there like a thing going around that was like the Infinity Stones are things that spell Thanos or something like that, right?
yeah.
Like the
It-
Tesseract and the Ether and what else was it? The Orb and the Scepter. And everyone
and
was like, what else?
the necklace on Doctor Strange's necklace for the
Right,
timeline.
yeah. And I think H was people were thinking Heimdall, right?
Or or him, right? Because Adam Warlock was called him
Oh, yeah.
or
I mean,
something.
I guess
Um,
that still technically could be true, yeah.
I was gonna say, speaking of Infinity Stones, in Age of Ultron, Thanos, no, Thor, in Age of Ultron, Thor said somebody is putting together all the pieces to bring out the Infinity Stones, right? Someone is
Mhm.
moving behind the scenes, and we all
Mhm.
know that's Thanos, right? But it then points out after watching that and going back to Thor 2 that Thanos was the one that pushed Natalie Portman into the portal that led to the Infinity Gem. Because, right? That had to be it.
No, I think it was just because the gem itself was like causing the weird things to happen, right?
Oh, so the gem wants to be found, is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, I think it was like just like the whole thing about physics being turned on itself. Like I thought it was like some sort of like gravity thing and mixed with the portal, like just like the truck and like, all the other
Nah,
stuff.
no. This was wind that came out of nowhere that was inside a building that pushed her, a grown woman, into a doorway, which led to a portal. I totally think that's like Thanos pushing Natalie Portman in invisibly or doing some kind of other cosmic stuff. But
Thanos works in mysterious ways.
yeah, all hail Thanos. He's coming.
Whoa.
Hold up,
Uh,
hold up.
I'm
Sorry,
being prepared.
I kid you not. I found the scene. It's when
Okay, hold up. Are you screen sharing?
yeah, yeah, well, no, I'm not screen sharing. Hold on.
Well,
I'm
nobody
just gonna
believes.
I'm just gonna send it to you. Hold on.
Where? How are you gonna send it to me? Is that why you're so
Uh
quiet?
yeah. Sorry, I was searching it. I was like, I know I'm not crazy.
Malekith gets big.
No,
Yeah.
I actually just am watching the final scene. It's
Malekith
when
getting big.
it's when Malekith says darkness returns as guardian, and he turns to look at him, and then there's that pan shot I was talking about. And uh, why are you not?
I'm
You're
underwater.
you're not in my contacts for some reason. Anyway, I'll send it to you later, and we'll post it on Instagram.
No. If you have it, screen share it.
Well, it's on my iPad, and I'm not the two different screens.
Oh,
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, just look for that scene during the final battle where there's a black
yeah.
tornado
Google Malekith getting big.
but yeah, so they have that pan shot I was talking about, and he is literally 3 times Thor's size.
Hmm.
I looked
I'm
up
a,
Malekith getting
I would
big
not be.
to Thor. It's a little more. It's a little different. I'm getting a
Uh,
few pictures.
you might want to X out of that
Oh,
immediately.
oh wow. Okay, now it says an FBI warning. Okay, whoa.
Oh, oh man,
Oh geez.
you're gonna end this podcast prematurely. There's gonna be
Yep,
sirens pretty soon.
that's a link. Ending prematurely. That's another link. It says.
All right,
All right. All
back
right.
to
Let's move on to the negative zone.
sounds like a good
Kind of
idea.
kind of clear the air.
Well, we didn't really talk about Loki.
What about Loki?
That he's amazing in this
Tom,
film, and that we should have
Tom
more of
Hiddleston
him.
firing on all cylinders. Not enough to save this movie. Bingo.
How about when Captain America shows up in Thor? How many movies is Captain America in now?
That was a great moment. We actually did skip over that, but yeah, now it's checked. So let's hit that negative zone.
How about when Loki says, "Trust my rage," when him and Thor were talking? How about Thor and Loki talking in general? Was pretty great to me. Just like their brotherly sacrifice and connection. I mean, he did save Natalie Portman. Loki did save Natalie Portman like twice during the fight on the Dark World.
Cool.
Okay, let me just pull it up then.
You know who wouldn't need saving? Sith. Yep.
All right. Believe it or not, people hate this movie. So I know we were praising it for like an hour and a half, and now we've come to the point where we unfortunately have to talk about more negative things about Thor 2: The Dark World in the negative zone. Okay, I don't have a name for this guy because I cut him off because there were I don't know why you have to do this on your negative comment, but I've seen the movie. I know the summary. You don't have to go word for word and be like, Natalie Portman did this, and then she said that, and then they went here, and then they did. You wrote an entire synopsis of the movie, and I don't need that. I just want to.
Well, that's kind of what we do,
right? But I want to. I wouldn't say that. I would say why I gave it 1 out of 2 because it sucks, and leave it at that. Short and sweet. I don't have to write a paragraph and an essay.
But why does it suck?
Well, not because they give a synopsis first and then why it sucked. It's dumb. A lot of people did this, and I cut off a lot of their names.
All right.
You just sent me darkness. This picture is useless.
Yeah, well, you got to brighten your screen because, like I said, it's really dark.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Let me just. Nope, my screen's all bright. It's still dark. All right, I'm gonna give me a second. Details. Nope, that's not it. Man, set it. How do I share this with people? All right.
As you can tell, we're really experts at this whole podcasting thing.
No, I got it. Save attachment. All right.
Well, he's got 2 different screens like I do, so.
Yeah. Not everybody can not have as much work as you do. I have no idea where I do. Anyways, we're going to just forward that. Okay, great. Forward that to... This is dumb. Why'd you message me? I have a Google thing. We're on Google right now. Anyways, the first... God, freaking hell.
It's all right. Yeah, go ahead, read the negative zone.
Yeah. Okay. The first one is from Emma, giving it a 3 out of 10. Okay, it says, although a worthy actress, Portman's tone and voice sounds more like a valley girl in a local arcade. Meanwhile, back on Earth, as the scientists gather to figure things out, Darcy's forced comic relief is annoying, distracting, and downright unfunny. Thankfully, there's Thor's quote-unquote brother that instigates menace from the Avengers, who, locked in a permanent glass structure, is freed to help destroy the big bad and completely uninteresting villain. Thankfully, the dependable Loki, like Lex Luthor in Superman 2, after being replaced as the central villain, keeps the dry humor flowing. Some lines hit, others miss. But that's the best thing Dark World has going for it. The camaraderie between the 2 polar opposite brothers and a colorful world where dazzling special effects have an old school I don't know that word. I don't know that word. Man. Wow, spaceships zoom around like Star Wars or Star Trek. It's when Thor joins the small band of Earthlings to thwart the city-ravaging beast while strategically jumping from various wormholes into either dimensions that things get convoluted, ponderous, and with a second Avengers already planned, somewhat pointless too. This movie was pointless, wasn't it?
It again, this kind of falls in the same wormhole as Captain America 1. It's just build up.
Build up for what, though? I mean, First Avenger
Well,
was built up for Avengers.
yeah, this is build up for what's it? I guess technically Infinity War, because they're introducing the Infinity Stones.
Well, I would also say Thor 3.
Kind of Thor 3, but is there really ties to this? I mean, I think this movie could have been Thor 3. I mean, again, spoilers ahead. You might want to skip ahead like maybe 5 minutes ahead. Yeah, I'll let you skip 5 minutes ahead. There's going to be Thor Ragnarok spoilers. But anyway. Yeah, I feel like this movie could have been Ragnarok. There's a lot of like, ooh, the royal family has kind of a dark past and we lie about things like killing the dark elves, or there's such a thing as an infinity gem, you know.
Yeah, well, not just that, but the whole thing with Loki assuming Odin's identity, I thought was going to be a much bigger plot in the final movie, and it wasn't. And like you said, this movie almost could have.
Yes.
They could have absolutely merged this film with Ragnarok somehow.
Well, they knew that was like, okay, what did people like about Thor 2? They liked it when Thor and Loki were on the same team and they were doing stuff. So yeah. So they wrapped that up real quick. Like, oh, we probably were going to do something else. Let's have Loki again just be on Thor's side. And it works. I mean, I have no qualms with that about Ragnarok, but I just thought, I think this movie does a lot. Like, I mean, technically, even Thor goes on without Mjolnir for like a good portion of this movie because he keeps on getting like teleported away. So, I mean, that basically is the. Oh, are you going to show us something, Steven?
I did. I finally was able to get the picture that Doc was talking about. That's Thor right here. This tiny little figure. This is his head.
Yep.
And that's Malekith way over here on top of a hill. Right here. And
yeah,
I'm really beginning to think that the Doc needs new glasses or doesn't know about depth perception, because that's just showing that
they're
Thor's
facing
really
one
far
another.
away. Thor's just really far away. You forget that he also jumped from the 3-point line and then dunked on Malekith.
Well, no, they're facing each other because that tornado itself is really self-contained, like small. Like that's why none of the city is conveniently not getting destroyed.
What do you think, Tim? That's him right there. You see Thor.
yeah.
And that's Malekith.
Look, I don't blame anybody for not knowing that he grew in size. That's what I'm saying. It was an awful way of how they handled it because I didn't even know. I was like,
yeah,
what's going on?
I think it might have been, and again, that same whole thing about maybe it was in a different cut where it was like it made a big deal about making, him growing in size, as all guys normally do.
Oh my god!
But God dang it! We moved to the negative zone to get away from that.
But I totally see it happening, because it sounds another cliche that this movie uses. So it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I'm pretty sure I clocked out even after, even for rewatching this, that I did not even see that. So
yeah, going back to
definitely possible.
To what was her name? Haley, Anna, something.
Who? Sif?
The negative zone comment.
Oh, Emily.
Emily. going back to Emily's comment, I mean, we pretty much all agree with her. I'm pretty sure that uh, not only about Jane Foster, but about the weird portals opening up conveniently, or
How
rather,
Darcy's being funny.
yeah. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't get Rick and Morty in there in one of those portals. That probably would have saved this movie if they would have shown up, but you know, we can't cross those universes, unfortunately. But yeah, just a lot of weirdness, a lot of inconsistencies. Um, so yeah, I mean, Emily raises a lot of good points.
Yeah. I got another one from Picture Taker on November 2013 on the 22nd. A 2 out of 10 titled, What on Earth? No Asgard Was This? I have no idea what he meant by that. I like the first story.
Oh, like what on earth? No, Asgard. Like what on Asgard? I think is what he was trying to say. Anyway, what were you saying?
Yeah. I like the first Thor, but honestly, this one was so boring and predictable that I left the movie theater tired and incredibly bored. It starts off with a huge battle, and that is great. I like battles, but it is between Asgard and the Dark Elves. The Dark Elves get beaten and thought of as dead, and for some reason, Asgard, the protector of the Nine Realms, does not really confirm this. They just assume. So an entire millennium passes. Then Natalie Portman is in London, just like that. For some reason, she's in England, and then for some reason, just like that, in a warehouse which is an alternate dimension gate to a dark cave that holds some crazy, slimy, evil-looking ghost that naturally possesses her, sort of. She is still herself, but if someone touches her, they are thrown across the room, while if others touch her, they are fine. Well, after an hour of this, finally, the Dark Elves attack Asgard, attack London, and take the evil from Natalie Portman, who survives naturally. Thor does a bunch of punching and tough stares. Loki lies a bunch of times, and naturally, there is a big alien battle in London. And of course, Thor saves the day with the help of Natalie Portman and her earthly friends. I honestly found this movie so boring and recycled that I found myself actually wanting to fall asleep in a theater. I had such high hopes for this movie because I thought the first one, see my review for it, was pretty good. This one I'm not interested in ever seeing again. It is predictable, long, and boring. Hey, guess what, Picture Taker? Your review was long and boring. You said the same thing 4 times, so don't be hating on the movie while you're hypocritical and you're doing it yourself.
That was pretty long.
I was gonna say is the beginning recycled kind of from even Thor 1, because in Thor 1 we get a huge history lesson and then a big battle between them and the Jotunheim, and then we get an old dude come in and he beats them up, and then things stop, and yeah.
Well, for me, it
So
wasn't really a recycling though, because to me, I thought that that's what, because they had established that in the first movie, I thought, okay, this is what we should expect from every Thor movie. Like, this is going to be our Star Wars opening crawl, only it's not going to be with, words that we have to read. It's going to be, spoken to us by a narrator. And that's why, again, I actually do like the opening scene. It would have been cool, though, if somehow they connected all of these different battles, like the Battle of Jotunheim, somehow connecting that with the battle with the Dark Elves. But then again, this was Bor who was fighting and not Odin, so it was like a different time period. But I think it would have been better had it been Odin, because then leading into Thor Ragnarok, that would have kind of
hit harder, because it's like he did
yeah,
all this
exactly.
he did all this good, but it was also bad stuff.
Exactly.
Kind of reminds you of another king that did a lot of bad stuff, but also did a lot of good stuff. Black Panther.
Namor.
Black Panther 2. That's
Black
not bad.
Bolt.
All right. You guys ever wonder when the Dark Elf ship ran into Asgard and hit the throne room and destroyed all the columns, and they threw a bunch of black hole bombs at the throne, that wouldn't reveal the lost history of where Hela was the daughter and they were conquering Earth? I think it would have, definitely
all
somebody
the time. All the time I think about that.
I mean, I just think that's like, that would have had to happen, and they would have had to have replaced it. I don't know. Seems to me that an architect of Asgard, isn't alive anymore because they did that job and they had to kill him afterwards. It's probably really sad.
Well, yeah, his name was Doug.
Yeah, Doug. There was a Doug.
And now he's dead, so
yeah,
nobody cares.
We'll never get to hear that story of Doug, the Asgardian architect.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, another day, another Doug.
I really, really, really like Ragnarok.
Sure.
No, hold up. There's
we got one.
We got one last one from ACKS. How would you say that? Axe King? Anyways.
Sure. He likes X.
It's from the 15th of February, 2014. 1 out of 10. Fairy Thor, mother of Arsgard. He's really bad at spelling, I guess.
Oh, wow.
This movie is from the schoolgirls, by the schoolgirls, for the schoolgirls. And when I say schoolgirls, I mean really juvenile schoolgirls, immature at best. This is an exercise in cheerleading. This movie is for those that believe the moon is made out of cheese, candles grow on trees, and in running streams of chocolate milk. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I thought the premise of the damnation of the universe. Yes, the end of light in the universe by some crazy testosterone-infused elves, nonetheless, one of who is African, by the way. The only thing standing in their way is Arsgard. Pertinent to its name, everyone at Arsgard is involved with, you guessed it, saving their own bottoms while their prince Thor is involved with babysitting his honeypot. There are some decent graphics, but you'll be hard-pressed to watch an explosion here, a spaceship there, and oops, you guessed it, you need new glasses. I don't know what he meant, but...
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, this guy really didn't like it and apparently thought it was a Candyland soda pop schoolgirl show. And, some mean testosterone-infused boys were ruining all the fun and just wanted to play war instead of house, it seemed.
I mean, it definitely doesn't sound like really metal. I mean, like Thor, the Dark World, and he's like jumping and he's got his cape flowing and lightning and thunder and he's got his huge hammer and stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure the advertisement sold this movie to people who liked Thor 1 or, fans of just Thor in general, but the execution was just terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Hey, why do the elves have guns and the Asgardian people don't?
Because they have lightsabers.
Right. I would rather take a gun than a lightsaber, I think. Because
well, then
you kind of need
that
the
battle.
Force. You kind of need the Force along with the lightsaber in order to do the lightsaber any good.
Well, then why didn't the Dark Elves win all those years ago?
That's true.
What I want to know
and they technically did have because they had the ether, basically.
What I want to know is, and this is going back to something that Emily had said that I forgot to address, why didn't Loki stand any sort of trial on Asgard?
He did at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah. But it was like he was guilty.
It was my birthright. Your birthright was to die on an icy plain.
I mean, I get that it's a hierarchy, but like, why weren't there like other Asgardians not trying to like assassinate this dude who committed mass genocide on two worlds, not just one? He destroyed like freaking half of Jotunheim, nearly caused a war. And speaking of a
Well,
war, oh my God, hold on, I'm skipping
it's
over. I'm skipping through a bunch of different things, but the whole thing in Thor 1 after he had destroyed Jotunheim was uh what's his face? His dad, Loki's dad, saying, you know, your son is going to bring war and blah blah blah. The same thing that they kind of did in uh Star Trek Into Darkness. Oh, you're gonna start a war now with the Klingons, and then the following movie doesn't deliver, and I was just like let down. I felt like this movie should have been the war, like between multiple realms. And again, going back to my thing about them traveling to multiple realms, that could have been a possibility.
Well, didn't they said that the nine realms were in chaos? So,
But yeah,
and
you
they
don't. They didn't
caused that.
show us though.
Well, they told us. It's better than nothing, I'd say.
Nah.
Do you know why the mountain was able to send them into another dimension? I mean, like, is the Rainbow Bridge made out of the same stuff as the mountain? Because they fixed the Rainbow Bridge. You could see the crack when Heimdall jumped onto the invisible ship where Thor caused it to break off. You could see a crack there. But then how do you get extra Rainbow Bridge material? And it's probably from the mountain because they also used the mountain to kind of rainbow bridge out of there. Little
It's
beat.
it's actually an infinity stone that can't decide whether it's a stone or a bridge.
It goes from Heimdall to a bridge to a mountain daily.
It's the schizophrenic stone. There's the time stone, the reality stone, and then there's the schizo stone, and just can't decide. But anyway, like, yeah, this movie, God, had so much potential. Like, they should have shown us that war. That's like if Civil War was called Civil War, but then they didn't actually show us the war. They just talk about it. We just see a lot of talking.
Yeah, I totally agree. This movie kind of um, only knows how to balance like two things at a time, and then as two things get oversaturated, another aspect is left behind. So either you're getting a ton of information, but no like interesting things to look on the screen, or action is going on, but uh, everyone's kind of like, you know, not themselves. So none of your fan theories, make sense anymore because they're, oh,
Yeah.
so,
I think it's kind of stupid that Malekith's ship can be destroyed and topple onto itself by just like one punch on the base of the ship. It's kind of dumb. It's like you hit it once and then it falls apart. It's like a messed up Jenga piece.
for sure.
Also, why didn't the pink chick grab that Infinity Stone rather than the Power Stone? The thing is, I think that wasn't the same pink chick and that was in the Guardians that tried the purple one. Because if you remember in the Guardians of the Galaxy, there was a pink chick already in a cage. So I think the pink chick that we saw at the end credit scene with the Collector did try to make a grab for the Infinity Stone, but then she got, trapped and put in a cage. And we got another pink chick that actually got the Infinity Stone.
Too many pink chicks, yo. Are you?
Too many pink
I
chicks.
I I was thinking of two, but now think you mentioned a third. But we'll probably just get into that uh, once we get into Guardians. We're still about a movie away.
Mm-hmm.
So we're out of the negative zone.
I think so. I think this would be a good time to get out and start doing our reviews.
Oh, yep. You mean totally. Thor: The Dark World. It sucks balls. I guess I'm gonna start then.
You should actually type that actually in its place of the title.
Yeah. Do you really want me to? I don't think I can edit this in this format.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of wind from somebody. Is that anybody on their end? Can you keep the fan?
Yeah, I was getting it too.
All right, thank you.
I might have just been breathing.
Yeah, there it is again.
Yeah, that's me breathing. I'll try not to breathe as much.
All right. Anyways, I guess it's all right. Thor 2, The Dark World. It sucks. There was stupid dialogue where, Thor said, if you surrender now, I accept your surrender. If you go back to your cages, no harm will come to you. You have my word. He gets hit. Okay, then you don't have my word. Ha 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 ha. No, it's not funny. None of the dialogue was humorous at all. Let me go get my pants on. Not funny. It's a terrible movie. Comedy, horrible trope and cliche that was uninteresting. I'm just gonna give it a horrible. I have to give it something, right? I can't leave it a 0. You know what? I'm gonna give it a 1 because of Loki and Heimdall. Not even Odin. Odin wasn't that great in this film, but Heimdall, with it when he took his helmet off, I'm like, yeah, finally we get to see some character development of this character. That's a total BA. And then Loki stole the show and made everybody fall in love with him, even though he totally was a dictator and tried to kill everybody, like the doc said. So I'm gonna give this movie a 1, just a straight up 1.
Yeah, for me, Thor: The Dark World had so much potential. Again, I was talking about that concept art in the midway point of the dark elves and what they potentially could have looked like. They could have looked more like the orcs in Lord of the Rings. We could have had that. It could have given off some horror vibes. We still haven't gotten a Marvel film that kind of gave us a horror flavor. They were talking about Doctor Strange doing that, but that one didn't really do that either. But this one definitely could have been, true to its name. It could have been dark. It could have been scary. It actually could have been what Tim was saying. It could have been our Ragnarok because, I mean, they probably should have just followed the Star Wars formula, yeah, and whatever every trilogy usually does. They should have made this one their Ragnarok, the death of everything, whatever, and make your third movie about rebirth and restructuring and whatnot. But I understand that they probably wanted to make this trilogy even more of a climax. So have Ragnarok be your outro, which makes sense. But I think in the long run, this movie would have been served or suited better had they just taken a step back and looked at everything they had, even looked at their plans, because clearly they planted seeds in this movie for Thor Ragnarok and just made a few adjustments. But yeah, this movie suffered the consequences, and like Steven had mentioned, you got Loki, you got Heimdall, and then you also have Sif, and you kind of have Thor, not really so much, but they're really the only things that shine in this movie. And for that reason, I'm gonna have to give Thor: The Dark World a very dirty gem. Just one gem. It just came out of the dirt. It can't decide whether it's a stone or a weird liquid putty goop, globuloid, and it's just globbing around.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
That means it's your turn.
Oh, okay. Um. Uh. man, I'm really thinking about which one, if both came on television and I had to watch one or the other. I think between Iron Man 3 or Thor the Dark World, like, and I had to watch one. Um, uh, I think I'm gonna go with you guys and put this as a one. I feel like with at least with Iron Man 3, it kind of like the story made sense in a way, but not, I mean, it didn't make any sense in a writing perspective, but it like was easy for me to follow along. Like, oh, I don't know why you know, what's his name? Killian's plan involved taking the president, or why the vice president was like cool with it, and all that kind of stuff. But it was easy for me to follow along. Like, I knew all that. This one, I kind of didn't know what was happening half the time until the people said it, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing now. I'm okay. I'm caught up. Um, so yeah, this movie feels very plain. There's not really uh, any saving graces about this movie. I mean, there isn't parts where I'm just like, oh, that was a good part, like, or I'll watch it for this scene. Um, so I think that's kind of where the problem is that it, uh, anyway, yeah.
All right, there you have it. The first time we all agreed on a rating for a terrible movie. I mean, I think we all agree that if we could, we would give this 0 Infinity Stones, but we can't, because a stone is a stone and a gem's a gem, and you got to have the Infinity Gauntlet with at least one for sure. You can't have it with just Infinity Gauntlet. Then it's just
it's just a gauntlet.
Yeah, it's just an oven mitt. Get your pizza rolls out of the oven with a gauntlet. That's basically all it's good for.
Hey, if I had a gauntlet, I would definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely a disinteresting movie. It's easy to fall asleep through, and yeah, definitely different writers and directors from the first movie that I think had that kind of magic to it, that kind of charm to it, and yeah. Ugh.
I mean, it shouldn't be a dull movie. It has an Infinity Stone in it. That's very important down the line, and it's should have more power behind it, but it doesn't. It's just dull.
Yeah, the bad guy's unmenacing. He's uninteresting. His motives are vague.
They're not vague. They're simple. That's the dumb part.
Let me ask y'all one final question. So moving forward, because the directors have changed, Natalie Portman has stated already that she's not coming back as Jane Foster. So moving forward, I feel like we had a great Jane Foster in the first Thor movie. This one was a huge misstep. Is the Marvel Universe going to suffer without Jane Foster?
I really hope not. I really, really want to see a Jane Foster Thor. They're making a Black Widow movie. They're hyping up off Black Panther and the whole Okoye army. I think it's time
yeah.
I think it's time we get a female Thor, and I think down the line, it's going to be down the line, but eventually we will probably get a female Thor. And Natalie Portman has done an excellent job in making a pathway for whoever follows up, or if she decides to come back and play a lead character in a movie.
What about you, Tim? What do you think?
It's not happening. I think that if anything, we might get a, not even technically a Thor. I could see us going down the Beta Ray Bill path, and I would be way okay with that. I don't think Jane Foster's Thor, uh, is gonna work itself in naturally or forced. It's just it's a concept not a lot of people agree with, even in the comics. So you don't really have everybody clamoring for it, on the fan side, giving them a reason to do it. Like, oh, don't worry, people will come see this movie because everyone wants to see Jane Foster Thor. So yeah, I think everyone's just gonna have to be content with fan art or whatever.
Yeah. All right. I think that just about does it for this episode of Watchers Week. That
Mm-hmm.
is Thor: The Dark World. Um, Make sure you're following us on all the various social medias, namely Instagram at Watchers Week. Now that the Infinity War film has been, is it pushed back or forward? I think it's pushed back.
But push forward a week.
Pushed forward a week.
Yeah. So it
Well,
was
yeah,
in
now, yeah,
May first week, and now it's in last week of April, I think.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, now that it's coming out sooner, um, we definitely are going to be pushing up some giveaways. So keep on the lookout for that. Again, make sure you're following us at Watchers Week.
Yeah, I don't know if you follow Sebastian Stan on Instagram, but he did a picture of him wearing that Infinity Gauntlet, and I gotta say that looks really good. I'm kind of leaning toward that, but decision's still up in the air.
Oh man, that's so great. Yeah, and Paul Bettany, I think, did the same thing.
Awesome.
Steven, where can they find you?
All right, you can find me on Instagram at _Nerdtron. Am I called that? Is that I haven't been on there in a while, but I am working on a project that eventually will come forward onto that. I'm really excited about it, and I hope you will be too. And for my record, I too enjoy the new Infinity Gauntlet toy that we're getting out, and my wallet doesn't appreciate it, but if the fans want it, we'll get it for you. There's nothing we won't do for you fans, that's for sure.
And Tim, what about you? Where can people find you?
They can find me mainly on Instagram. I'm working on a little YouTube project at the moment, so soon I'll be on there. And yeah, but it's just on Instagram. Fishbone Malone on Instagram. We talk about figs, comics, and movies. Just kind of a safe place to nerd out. So yeah, that's what we do over there.
All right. And once again, my name is Chaz, aka Dr. Cosmic, and that's where you can find me on Instagram, is at Dr. Cosmic. I do pretty much the same thing as these other two guys. I post, figure pics. Super excited for those Infinity War waves of Marvel Legends coming out. Can't wait for those. Like Steven said, oh man, my wallet's gonna be lighter than usual for a while. It's definitely gonna be a lot lighter. All right. That's this episode of Watchers Week.
Hey guys,
Come back next week. Oh yeah, what?
Hey, this is the last crappy movie of the MCU. We did it! Woo!
I wouldn't say
we did it. Last crappy movie. Yeah.
It's definitely gonna be the one, Jim.
I don't know how to turn this off. We're just gonna go to the end. Woo! Nothing but good movies from now on.
That's right.
That was a premature ending, but I just wanted to celebrate it. We did it.
That's all right. Yeah. It is good. Yeah, it's definitely good. Like, no more one Jims.
We'll see.
It's going to be 2 and above, I have a feel. Or 3 and above.
Yeah. If anything, no more one Jims. Woo!
Get those one Jims out of here.
Get them out.
Especially the goopy ones.
Yeah, get that goopy, nasty one. Scrape it off. Scrape it. I don't want to see it.
Yeah, it's a good thing you stopped me, though, because I was fixing to say join us next week, but actually we're going to have a second episode popping out this week as well. We're doubling up since Avengers Infinity War has been pushed forward in April. So, so be on the lookout for that. Our new episode, we'll let you guys know.
It's Winter Soldier.
Oh, yeah, Winter Soldier.
Captain America, Winter Soldier, yeah.
Yeah, the most... what is it? The greatest? Best. I don't know. Winter Soldier's in it. Bucky, the new Loki. All the fangirls and some guys really like Bucky for some reason.
Hey, Rocket, I'm gonna need you to hit that music.
All right.
Because we're getting out of here.
Woo!
Right.
Yeah, sucker.
Don't even think twice about it. All right. Tune in, tune out, and we'll keep watching.